Welcome back to WB Mason Presents the Joe Girardi Show. Meredith Morakovitz alongside Joe Girardi, and it is time for Ask Joe. You, the fans, get to ask the manager questions. And Joe, let's start with this one from Twitter. The signs given by a catcher are modified to avoid relay to the batter by the runner at second. Can you describe how all of this is done?
There's a lot of different sets of signs that people use, and body parts can be involved in that, where you're changing the signs all the time. And the big thing is not to let the other club be able to relay pitches, and you have to be creative. Every pitcher usually has a different set of signs, so you're not always using the same one, and some are extremely complicated, some are a little bit easier. I've always been a big fan of pitchers using the wipe, where they add and subtract. So if they're above their belt, they're adding, and if they're below their belt, they're subtracting, and it's really hard for base runners to relay that.
One of the most fascinating things in working in the S broadcast booth with some of the pitchers they have up there with Al Leiter and David Cohn and all of those guys, they say some catchers could just read the pitcher and you know what they're going to throw for the most part by just shaking them off with your eyes. Do you remember guys that were like
Yeah, I mean, some guys you have a pretty good idea exactly what they want to throw, and you don't have to be so complicated. But there are other guys who are going to shake off, and the guys that shake a lot, those are the guys that sometimes you say, give me the sign. You know, go to a body part when the hitter's not looking, give me a sign, and then here we go. So, I mean, you can do that as well.
This one comes from Marty from the Bronx via email. How does a guy like Solarte, who's never been considered a prospect in the minors, all of a sudden become a legit major league player?
Perseverance is what it takes, and continuing to work at your trade and not get frustrated, because sometimes they'll say, well, we don't think he has enough range to play here. Well, we don't think he hits enough to profile here. And all of a sudden you get your chance and you get your big break and you take advantage of it. And that's what this kid has done.
Do you think there are guys that could have made the majors but just couldn't stick through that minor league lifestyle long enough to do it?
I'm sure frustration set in and they lost that little bit of an edge that you need to continue to push yourself every day. I'm sure it's happened.
And this one comes all the way from Alan in Arkansas. We all know LeBron James is a freakish athlete, but how do you think he would do as a baseball player, and what position would be best for him?
Well, that's a great question. He's obviously very athletic, so maybe when he was younger he would have been an outfielder, a power hitting outfielder, because obviously he can run a little bit and he's fast. But as he has filled out and gotten much bigger, I mean, maybe he moves to first base or something like that. Or maybe he would have been a pitcher. Maybe he would have been like Dellin Betances.
Could have been. Very intimidating. And I'm thinking of him at first base. That's an awfully big target.
That's a great target.
Base.
If you throw it over his head, you made a bad throw.
Now, did you ever dream of playing any other sports growing up?
Oh, football was my passion. I love football, but being 5'11" and 165 pounds coming out of high school as a quarterback doesn't get you too far.
But it worked out pretty well for you.
Yeah, it sure did.